Sister made false abuse claims, family disowned me, now years later they want to make amends. Part 1. In 2002, I, Chris, then 18M now 30M, had finished high school and got accepted to a top engineering college. I was really looking forward to this chapter of my life. Home life had been fine, but I never had felt overly cared for. My parents weren't neglectful, but I was always second to my golden child younger sister. It was clear from a young age that I was gifted academically, but instead of this getting me praise it got me only expectations. Mistakes for me were not acceptable and my consequences would be heavy. I still remember getting my car taken for a month when I was 16 because I forgot to lock the front door one day when I left. My successes were expected not celebrated, and while some words of pride might be shared, my triumphs were never a big deal. On contrast, my little sister, Alicia, 14F then, had been praised and treated like a princess from birth. She could do no wrong, there was always a reason for her bad behavior, she may be corrected but the consequences would be slight or only involve a verbal scolding. She was nowhere the student I was, she wasn't dumb, she was just average. However, physically she was very gifted. By time she was in middle school she was a USAG Level 8 gymnast. So by no means a future Olympian but still very talented. I still remember events like my birthdays being overtaken by my parents wanting her to show off her skills and her getting gifts or a say in where we ate. I remember being so happy when she quit gymnastics after 7th grade, one so I would get to stop hearing about it, but also so I wasn't expected to go to her endlessly long competitions. Fast forward to the end of my freshman year and I was back home. It was our annual family Memorial Weekend barbecue. Extended family, family friends, dad's coworkers, it was a big deal. I had an amazing freshman year. I was Dean's List both semesters, had joined the school's shooting club, and was quite the natural at it, made a great group of friends and found myself a girlfriend, Nicole, that I'd been seeing for 8 months. I'm not sure if my parents even once said anything about me. The talk of the day had been how my sister was all-state in the pole vault as a HS freshman. I can remember only 2 people even asking me how college was going. But then again, why would they care? I mean, my ability to basically build an engine from scratch is far less practical and impressive than my sister's ability to catapult herself with a stick. Joking aside, I was honestly used to this. Things didn't go south for me until the following Thanksgiving. I was still riding high and was very successful. I had been selected to do an international internship in the UK for the following summer. Most of the cost would be covered by scholarship, but a small amount still remained. My father, much to my surprise, praised me, and offered to cover all my other expenses. I was extremely grateful. This coincided with my sister finally doing something that had even our parents ashamed of her. She had gotten caught performing an inappropriate act on a classmate during lunch in the school parking lot. On top of that, when caught, admins decided to search her backpack and found pot. She was suspended from school for 10 days, and my parents had taken away her car for a month. I found this ironic as it implied that leaving the door unlocked was on par with doing drugs, public indecency, and lewd conduct on school grounds, but I just kept that to myself, since I was happy enough to be number one for any amount of time or reason. At dinner with my grandparents and my aunt's family, I was the talk of the family. There was almost no talk of my sister in her grand sports, but there were lots of disappointed looks that she had never had to bear before. I returned to school that Sunday night and showed up at my girlfriend's apartment. This was the last night of normalcy I would have the rest of my life. The next day after getting back from class to my dorm room, I had found I had an email from my father. It read, "Christopher, your sister has informed us of your heinous acts against her. I do not know where I and your mother went wrong, or how you could do such despicable things to your own sister. While it does explain her recent misgivings, I am heartbroken to know that you are the cause. You have destroyed our family. I have already informed immediate family, do not reach out to them. The only reason we are not proceeding with legal action is for your sister's sake, as I will not force her to face you. You have done enough to harm her already. From this day forth you are no longer my son, I will be legally disowning you. Do not ever contact us again. Panicked and confused, I immediately began to call the house, then my father's cell. No answers. I did this with several other immediate family members and got no answer there as well. Finally, after calling what must have been 100 times, I tried calling Alicia's cell phone. It was this time it was answered, and it was my father on the other end. I could hear hysterical crying in the background. I began begging for someone to tell me what was going on, but my father interjected and told me not to play innocent or dumb. The only reason he answered was because he couldn't believe I would stoop low enough to call Alicia directly. He told me I was not welcome, that I was a monster, and asked me how I could abuse and assault her like that. I tried to reason with him, to plead my case, but he would not listen. He finally told me if I ever called again, came by again, or contacted them by any means, he would go to the authorities. This was my last chance to be a decent person and get out of their lives. If I ever so much as sent a letter, he would make it his mission that I ended up on the sex offender registry for the rest of my life. Devastated and defeated, I went to Nicole for support. I told her everything that happened. She seemed uneasy but tried to support me. I could tell something was off, and she asked me to head back to my dorm for the night. I was heartbroken to be sent away but rationalized my concerns away. When I got to my dorm, my roommate, Jack, was there and being his usual self. Jack had been my best friend since day one of college freshman year. That was until I told him what happened. He too grew uneasy afterwards but attempted more support than Nicole had. It wasn't until the next day that the two of them would start to distance themselves from me. Over the course of the next week, Nicole broke up with me in a public place, with her brother and cousin on standby. I guess I should be grateful she didn't just ghost me. Jack requested and was given an emergency placement in a new dorm room. They both rationalized that there was no way my family would just cut me off without it being justified. They had assumed my guilt as well. In the course of a week, I had lost everyone that was important to me. I was 20 years old, and had no one, and no idea what I was supposed to do next. It's been a bit over 10 years since then, and every day has been impossibly hard. Being cast aside and shunned by everyone close to you changes you in ways you would never imagine. I was moving through life as best I could until a day ago when I received an actual letter in the mail. It was several pages long and was from my mother and father. The letter was an apology and plea to reconcile. It seems that after 10 years my sister finally confessed that she had lied about everything.